So that was just kind of an introduction to the session, and we have some great speakers coming up in a panel. So David will talk about, David at Tega will talk about the experience DMP, so how they're able to take their current audience manager implementation from sort of a 1.0 mentality to a 3.0 mentality. And then we have a panel of speakers who will talk about privacy and what's happening with the cookie and what marketers need to be aware of, and just their perspectives on that space. So with that, I'll hand it over to David.
Thank you. Awesome. Wow, some great insights there. First of all, before I start, for those of you who've heard of TEG as a company, hands up. Okay. TEG Analytics. A few of you. Okay, what about Ticketek? Okay, that's good. Been around for about 40 years, I'd expect to see a few hands. All right, so I head up TEG Analytics Audience Automation, otherwise known as Programmatic. It's a new business unit, and as you can see here, we're part of a really big company unit. Ticketek, for those of you who do know, it's a professional ticketing platform, and for where we want to go into a self-service platform, if you've got a backyard event or School Rock Stedford, Eventopia would be the platform that you'd go to. Kudos Bank Arena up in Homebush, built during the Olympic Games, is consistently rated in the top 10 live entertainment venues in Australia, around the world actually. In Australia, it's the largest of its kind, 21,000 seat stadium. TEG Dainty, Paul Dainty's been around since the 1970s, recently joined TEG, and by Billboard in the US was voted the 5th largest promoter of his kind, and brings into Australia live events and performers like Adele, Guns N' Roses, U2, Rolling Stones. Also in the promotion area is TEG Live. We see the live events like AFL, NRL, international sporting events, and Brickman, those Lego exhibitions that we see around town, also on Channel 9 just recently as well. Lifelike Touring and the Entertainment Store, under license they have Disney, Nickelodeon, Warner Brothers, basically people that like to run around and skate on ice in costumes, and they get promoted through TEG Live and the tickets are sold through Ticketek. TEG Insights is our research-based panel, and they help companies understand products and through audience surveys. TEG Analytics, a business unit that I'm with, basically has been around for about 3 years. Our job is to help identify audience insights using the TEG data sets that we have access to. We have our own data science team. We have our own product team. Our product team work with our data science team and myself to identify and visualize what our users look like. We have a proprietary product, and it was an award-winning product through Umbrella recently called Genome Live. And I'm heading up a number of DMP stacks, and we live with Adobe's DMP, Audience Manager, to share data either through the second-party marketplace or out to our trading partners through demand-side platforms, otherwise known as DSPs. TEG Digital is our internal marketing agency. We have our internal trading desk there as well. And as you'd expect with most companies, or a company of this size, we're expanding and we're pushing up through the Southeast Asian corridor. You can see there that we've got Ticket Charge in Malaysia and Ticket World in the Philippines, recently acquired and part of our business. And we now have a Southeast Asian head office in Singapore. And Softix, the company or platform, the ticketing platform that started it all off with Kerry Packer back in the 1970s, is now licensed out across 30 countries globally. So it's a big company, and it's an evolving company as well. Right, a company of this size and age, you'd expect to see some pretty interesting stats, and that's what these are about. 16 million active members. Now, we use an 18-month window to look back and bring that number to light. We sell over 30 million tickets annually to over 20,000 live events. So these are Australian statistics. And we have under license 90% of the live event stadiums and venues in Australia. What that means is for venues like the MCG that you saw, or hopefully saw last year, we've re-signed up for another 10-year agreement to exclusively sell tickets at that venue. It's a 90,000 seat stadium. M&M had a sellout tour, and that meant that we were able to provide from a single source for the MCG insights and analytics back to that venue to help them grow their business more effectively as well. Now, I talked about our research panel. We've got 1.1 million members on that panel, which is a huge number, and that helps companies grow their business more effectively as well. So what is TEG Analytics? Glad you asked. Okay, so basically with the data that we have scale. We're an agnostic business unit, so it doesn't matter what technology our clients use and partners use, we will find solutions to agnostically connect to them. And as I said, Adobe being our leading DMP, we are able to provide solutions to our Adobe clients, whether they're on an Adobe DMP stack or not. Now, probably one of the key points of difference for us is that we also provide a managed service in a DMP environment. So we work with clients who have got a lot of data but aren't quite DMP ready yet, whether they're local or international brands. So for them, they allow us to put a DMP tag on their website. That data then comes back into our Adobe DMP. Again, this is with their permission. And for that, I'm able to blend the data that we collect from their website with the data that we have from TEG, and I can create a new taxonomy and push that out to their preferred demand-side platform for their agency to use for ad targeting. And the key point around that is that it saves those companies I suppose the investment if they're not ready yet to go into a DMP, and they can leverage the data science insights, the sales teams that we have, and the offline data as well, and obviously the insights that I'm able to provide them with as well. And we hope that when they get to a data maturity point, that they will go in and use the Adobe DMP technology stack. Now, being a company, again, of this size, we've got trustworthy and transparent data. It's a really key message in market. I've been working in data for a number of different companies over the last 4 years, and trustworthy and transparent is a really key point, and that's where we're moving to as an industry. Now, we're 100% owned and first-party data as well. For those of you who've got a DMP, I'm sure you're familiar with this. There's a lot of work that goes into setting up a DMP, connecting into different technology stacks, different languages in those different technology stacks, making sure the technology then can be put into a taxonomy that makes sense for our buyers, and then a single stream goes out to our buyers. So, making sure the naming strategy that you use in your taxonomy is simplified, and therefore buyers keep coming back. So there's a lot of work that goes on underneath, and to have a nice, simple product that goes out to market that makes buyers want to come back and buy your product is really important. So what does it look like? In our journey, the TEG Analytics business unit's been around for about 3 years. At that point in time, the Ticketek team were using a different DMP. When the Adobe DMP was brought into TEG Analytics, it made sense at that point just to replicate the taxonomy and bring that into Adobe's DMP. However, that meant that whilst retargeting using the segment naming constructions for Ticketek was good for them, it didn't quite make sense for TEG Analytics. As an example, Ticketek were using segments like AFL lovers. Now that doesn't tell me whether that person in that segment is a transactor, whether they've done a search which makes them become an intender, or whether there's a declared data point in there as well. So for me, that's basically what I inherited. Now at that point, back in 2017, we were only trading on 300 segments, and that was going out through a typical agency brief response process. And we were also feeding out to our DMP to DMP, Adobe to Adobe DMP clients, one single feed that came in from our offline data sources, whether that was a transaction or a CRM data set. And there's a lot of data that's in there that you don't necessarily want to share with clients. So that was a problem in itself as well. So last year I spent a lot of time understanding what the technology was and repositioning the DMP. So through our evolution, we've, as I said before, we're agnostic. We've got clients that don't have an Adobe DMP, and so we've worked with Adobe, and this is one of the core strengths I really want to emphasize here that I feel is well and truly above any of the other vendors in market, and that's their ability to come to town with us and with our clients and find customized solutions. If it's not in their technology, then they're really keen to work with other technology platforms and find those solutions. And that's what we're able to find with our clients who use Salesforce, and also for our clients who use Lodome DMP as well. It was such an amazing moment when you sit there and look and think, wow, I've actually got the client here with Adobe and Lodome DMP. They're just going in and finding these solutions, and it was just one of those magic moments for me. We've also done the same with the Trade Desk and AdCloud, find customized solutions that aren't currently in market through the Adobe Audience Manager destination connections. Now, like any company, we've got a lot of data, but we like to get some additional insights. So we used Roy Morgan as our data set, and we've brought them into our fold as well. And I took a look at the DMP and the way that we were ingesting our offline data sets. And at that point, we decided that it wasn't going to be appropriate for us to continue working on agency briefs, so we stopped that, and that gave me a bit of breathing space. So this year, a really cool year for us, and that means that I can go in and now start activating the data and the strategy that I've had in play. So I've rebuilt Audience Manager from the ground up. I've now got 10 offline data feeds, and I'll explain what they are in a moment. I've rebuilt the naming construction of our taxonomy. Now I've got proper names. So instead of an AFL lover, I've got somebody who's transacted on an AFL event, maybe at the club level. They're declared their intent, their interest. So it makes a lot more sense for a buyer. And I've now got them broken down into categories. So if somebody says to me, I want to buy a finance category, that's fine. I can now give them a finance category. I've got a huge taxonomy. Imagine an Excel spreadsheet of 47,000 lines, all broken out, and I think I've got about 32 columns. All of that is what my taxonomy looks like, and it's using Excel. It does crash. Quite constantly when I'm rebuilding this taxonomy, Excel just freezes with a great big white screen, sits there for about 30 seconds, and finally it comes back up. But that's a lot of data. So going through that and identifying 3,000 traits that I can trade into the Adobe Marketplace, or 3,000 segments which I can trade out to our third-party partners, is how I'm now commercializing those. So why I've gone with 3,000 and 3,000, I wanted to make sure that anybody that's buying my data as a trait in the marketplace can see the same segments when they go to a third-party marketplace, if that's going through the DSP, because we have to trade, and that's the way Adobe set up to go from segments. So it's kind of like that fast food restaurant strategy. When you're traveling overseas, you still get the same burger, and it was that concept, and this is part of your strategy and planning that I'd really recommend having a look at when you're building your DMP out. This is kind of something I'm really proud of, because back in 2017, we were really exploring the DMP story, understanding what the opportunities were, and fast forward to 2 years, we're now an Adobe partner. We're able to provide services to Adobe to help them understand and grow their business as well. One of those services is that we can provide an onboarding service. That's a CRM to CRM match, bringing that client CRM in and making sure that's PII compliant, of course, and bringing that CRM match in, finding the same email, and we can basically then bring that into the DMP as an active user. So that's a really cool opportunity for us. TEG Analytics psychographic segments, basically this is new to market. It's the first time in Australia that we've had this. I'm going back to Roy Morgan now. I've come from a third-party data vendor before working at TEG. Now, the challenge in market is that third-party data vendors who activate Roy Morgan data are usually activating it against postcode level data, which is great, don't get me wrong, but if you're in Surrey Hills, we've got News Corp out there. Awesome, Monday to Friday, big company, 9-to-5ers, right? And then across the road on Devonshire Street, we've got the high-rise Housing Commission block. And then a few minutes walk down the road, we've got the retail precinct with Crown Street, and then we've got the $1 to $3 million townhouses. The demographic in that postcode is so diverse that it almost becomes inaccurate. So what we've been able to do is find through our psychographic segments the transactors on our website and through our CRM, and find the individual and put that into a psychographic segment. So now we can target each person at that level accurately based on their transaction history and who they are in our CRM. And that's something that we can now push, and we are pushing into our DMP and making that available to our buying partners. And obviously, as I mentioned before, our second-party marketplace trading, we actually kick that off next week. So it's a really big project for us. All right, let's have a look under the hood, see what the DMP looks like. For us, as I mentioned before, we've got offline data feeds coming into the DMP. That's our TEG CRM and our transaction data sets. And also, if we've got our client CRM before I mentioned that we do matching with them. We've also got online data coming in from tagged data on our website, and also with permission from our clients, we've got their data coming in. It's a lot of data. When you've got 16 million members who are transacting across 30 different ticket sales each year, we collect 500 points of data per ticket sold. It's around about 400,000 bits of information coming into the DMP daily. As I said before, 47,000 lines of data that in a taxonomy, that's a lot. And we push that out to the DMP, and I've got that mirrored across our other DMPs as well. And for our destinations, for those of you who don't know, the DMP obviously is a gateway. For the data that we have, for us to be able to push that out to other clients, the DMP is that gateway and acts as a gateway for us to go into those destinations there. Right, as I said before, embrace integrations on a custom level with Adobe. They can do it. They are resourced to do it, and I enjoy doing it with them. I have Adobe coming into my office every week for a couple of hours. We sit down there and dreamscape some of the opportunities that we can provide our clients. I can't begin to stress to you that the customized solutions are going to make your business rock. If you aren't ready to do that, that's absolutely fine. But for us, these are some of the ones that we've done. Adobe isn't quite ready in this market to go with device graph mapping yet, meaning that we can map our cookie data to a mobile device ID. We're trading on cookies at the moment. So what they've been able to do is work with us on a solution. So I've got a vendor who basically is collecting mobile device IDs. And they've said, okay, well, we can do this. Let's bring the vendor and you together with IP address targeting inside the DMP. So I don't see the IP addresses. This is all done by Adobe in a safe and secure environment. So they've been able to find the IP address that our user has and our vendor's user has, and then match that. And then they're able to find the Adobe ID. That matched Adobe ID now can come back into my DMP instance, and I can now see who that cookie is and who also has the same mobile device ID. So whilst they might not have solutions on scale here in market, there definitely is opportunity to find those customized solutions. Right, all right. So this is a really nice case study. Now, for those of you who know Cadrian, they are using an Adobe DMP. So for us coming into market, giving them some first-party data, for the first time when we ran this case study with them, they were able to get 81% on target versus third-party data, which everybody's been using readily, and it's only been getting 41%. I'm just going to flip the numbers around a little bit. So what that meant is that any advertiser who's spending money on targeting was losing 60% of their targeting dollar when they were using that third-party data provider. That we've been able to close that. So that's awesome. This is the power of first-party data. Now, as you'd expect with Adobe DMP and Adobe Ad Cloud, they're both using the same Adobe ID. So you would expect to get in DMP to DSP a really high match rate. And to be fair, this is what the DMP showed as my ID match rates this week. I have had campaigns with Ad Cloud go up to 100%. So I just wanted to keep that. That's where that 96% sits. Now, when we use, we've got a client that I work with. This is a 6-month average. So when they use our data, they were able to increase their click-through rate 106%. When they were using our data, they were able to increase their video completion rate by 20%. So that's the power of data. Right, enabling enabling solutions. Right, as I mentioned before, we do onboarding, so we're able to increase that using the data that we've got from an industry average of 30% to 60 to 85%. That's awesome, and I don't think there's anywhere in the market at the moment that's able to get that. We have our onboarding, so we have our offline data visualization tool called Genome Dashboard, and again, that data from the dashboard can be fed into the DMP. So what's next? Personally, I want to take these guys on. I want to create a network of publishers and advertisers that can reclaim this 49% that's been taken by one company and bring that back into this country and keep it here. And what that means at the end of the day is that revenue can be reinvested into local media companies and publishers, advertisers, you name it, for new content. You know, we keep hearing the stories of content revenue disappearing. This is where it's going. So if we create a new network, which is what I'm doing, and we're working with a large number of publishers and broadcasters and advertisers already to create this new second-party market sharing, we can do this. And we are, from what I was talking to Adobe about yesterday, Australia is leading the charge on this. The UK and the US haven't quite got to the same stage that we are. So this is now happening, and we're enabling that. So this is a key point. So everybody's been talking about it. It's now happening. Yeah, so it's pretty exciting. If I had this checklist before I started my DMP journey, I would have been in a very different situation. I can't begin to stress to you, plan, design, build your DMP. It's so important. As you saw from the slide before on my timeline journey, the DMP taxonomy just didn't make sense for what we wanted to do. Looking at the DMP vendor client list, Adobe has a large number of clients using an Adobe DMP that I can connect to in their second-party marketplace. That is by far one of the leading strategies that they've got with us. Looking at technical services, as I said before, we've got Adobe coming on site and helping me at Dreamscape and finding solutions for our technology questions. And quality over quantity. Everybody thinks to have a DMP, you have to have a lot of data or a lot of audience coming into your site. You don't necessarily have to have that. As long as you've got people coming in, a DMP is going to provide value for it. I'm going to use this example. If you've got, so let's just say an AFL-based website, you're getting 5,000 people come into it every month. You can bring that data into the DMP and you can model on it. Adobe's got insights all around the web for sites that they've got tagged up. There might be somebody reading a news article on AFL. There might be somebody buying an AFL product. That information can be pulled into your DMP campaign or your DMP modeled insight, and you can exploit that out to millions of different unique cookies for targeting. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I want to keep it short and sweet, but as I said, planning ahead is really, really important. You don't want to have this on the left. It's kind of crazy, but what you want to have is something that looks nice and neat, and people are going to want to engage with you on, because at the end of the day, that's going to give you the return on your investment with your Adobe DMP. If you've got any questions, happy to step back and have a chat with you after the sessions, but thanks very much for your time. Cool.
You are an experience maker. You have the power to turn products into experiences. You transform data into memories. You convert random customers into new best friends. It's a superpower, and you already possess it. All you have to do is learn how to use it. Experience League is here to make that happen. In fact, our integrated AI already knows just what you need to learn to get more from Adobe Experience Cloud. Like a personal guide, your individual learning experience is based on your preferences, interactions at physical events, and even your usage of our products. Our AI uses all this data to create the ideal path, with individual and company skill tracking, along with custom awards. And since brilliance doesn't happen in isolation, we'll plug you into a massive community of experience makers just like you. Peers who can turn your questions into answers, your ideas into plans, and your plans into experiences. When the going gets tough, just reach out to us for individual support. We're here anytime to discuss your digital vision, help solve tough tech problems, and show you how to connect with customers better than ever before. All this is designed to help you make the most of Adobe Experience Cloud, so you can make your customers smile more, make your brand soar higher, and make experience your business.